Season of Mastery released a few months after TB.
Okay, we'll start at the beginning.
Season of Mastery released a few months.
This for anyone that's watching this on YouTube. This is WillE. He's Season of Mastery 2 they're talking about. People keep coming into my chat, and I think it's actually more of a meme that they're bugging me that, hey, when is Season of Mastery coming out? Because they know that I think Season of Mastery was absolute garbage. And the first question that he asked is, how can it do better? Well, how can it do better? It could do better by not coming out. The first one was so bad that could it get any worse? Like, could maybe that be the first question you could ask? Could it be any worse than Season of Mastery 1? What could they do to ruin the game even more than they did with Season of Mastery 1? Of the things that they brought into Season of Mastery, the only thing that I liked was the anti-leveling thing that got rid of bots from being able to level you. That I thought was really good. Virtually every other change that they made was complete and utter garbage. So, anyways, how can it do better? How about you not put any changes in, and you come up with Classic Fresh, and then you just call it Season of Mastery 2, hashtag no changes. And I don't mean no changes from Season of Mastery. I mean no changes from, like, Classic Fresh. Anyways, let's see. I'm trying to think of what you know what? Let's try and take this seriously a little bit. If you were going to ask me if I had to make changes to Vanilla WoW, like no changes would an option, and say the developers, Ian came up to me and he was like, Alodar, we need your input here. We need to know what Alodar needs to see in Classic Fresh. There has to be changes, but we want to know what changes you want. It would have to be okay. Let's not get carried away, Nixon. We all know Blizzard is making money off the bots. Like, we all know Blizzard is making money off the bots. Here's another thing for you to think about, and any of you guys watching the YouTube video. What would stop Blizzard from making an account on like G2A or G2G or whatever it's called, and selling gold? Now think about it for a second. Remember how much the community was up in arms that, at the idea that they might actually bring the token into Classic back in the day. Remember before Vanilla or Classic came out? And that was one of the things that everyone was harping on. We do not want this. We do not want this. And that's a lot of money that Blizzard was missing out on. What would stop Blizzard from making accounts on G2G? Or what is it? No, it's G2G, right? And selling gold. With gold that they placed on characters, they can just say, hey, okay, this character XYZ PQ LMS, whatever, a Death Knight or whatever. Well, I guess it's in Classic, is a paladin, and we're gonna give him 100,000 gold, and then they use that to sell gold on G2G. And then think about this: they make money by selling it on that site, money that they would have gotten by selling the coin. So they've managed to be able to sell gold anyways, and they get a list of people that are buying gold, so they can then ban people from buying gold, which seems to happen once every 6 months or something like that. Suddenly there's a ban wave of, hey, look at all these people that have been banned from gold. Like, it makes it really easy. It's all automated. Somebody goes and buys gold off the website. It's recorded who it was by Blizzard. Blizzard gives this character money, transfers it to you via mail. I don't know how it works in game. How do you buy gold? I don't actually know. But anyways, they buy the gold, and then Blizzard's got to keep the running list of all these people that are buying gold, and then bans them 6 months later. Oh, how do they get banned? Oh, I don't know. Anyways, we were talking about what changes would I want to see. Okay, if you came to me and you're like, okay, what big changes would you like to see in Classic? Okay, I do like I would like to see them, I've said this on stream many times, them take all of the XP that you would normally get from killing every mob in a dungeon, and add that to the XP that you would get from quests, and then just make it so that you would get the quests for doing the dungeon, or the XP from doing the dungeon, from finishing the quest, not from actually killing any mobs. That would kill boosting immediately, and people would still have a reason to do the instance once, right? But it would stop people from just doing it over and over and over and over and over again. That's change number 1. Okay. Next change, an announcement on May 13th. Oh, great. The next big change that I would make is I would make it so that you could queue up for rated battlegrounds. I would love to see rated battlegrounds in vanilla, actually. And that includes Alterac Valley. Like, could you imagine having a 40-on-40 Alterac Valley, like rated battlegrounds, like everybody in Discord? Like, I think that would be actually really cool. Same as, like, you know, rated battlegrounds, just regular ones and stuff like that. Like, I would actually love to see that sort of stuff. I think that the seasons for hardcore is just too short. Like, when you have season of mastery, it lasts 12 months. Your regular gamer can't keep up. Like, your casual gamer is out before the game is even launched, because they can't get to level 60 by the time other people are already starting to do Blackwing Lair. You know, like, it's too short of a period of time. Let's see, what would a third change be? That is one. Like, we're talking major changes. Like, if they said, okay, mail is instant, I probably wouldn't care about that. You know, but that's not really a major change. I'm thinking of, like, things that are like really different from vanilla. But I would like to see rated battlegrounds, the differences in quest XP and mob XP. I have to think of something else, but those two are two that I've talked about that I probably wouldn't mind. All right, let's see what he says for Season of Mastery.
Months after TBC Classic had dropped as an alternative for players who didn't wish to go down the path of expansions once again. These servers aim to answer many common points of feedback for Classic and to offer a somewhat different experience the second time around. And though these servers have recently closed as per their planned 12-month life cycle, Classic as a game has been seeing a huge uptick in players, both on the RS.
Why have they been seeing a huge uptick in players? Because the other versions of WoW suck. Like, are any of you guys still enjoying Wrath? Like, I do the rating because I want to get through the rating content. But if I'd already done all the rating content in Wrath before, I'd probably be out. I'd probably be like, no, I'm done. I've had it.
Servers, as well as those taking on the...
Like, the problem with Wrath is there's literally nothing else to do. Like, you're just raid logging, and there's nothing else. There's no reason for me to go out in the world like there is in vanilla. You know, like, there's always things to go out and do in the world in vanilla. All these events take place and stuff like that. They don't have anything like that in Wrath.
Hardcore challenge. Now more so than ever, it feels like we're hitting a real second, reignited interest to head back to Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms and get stuck in some good old-fashioned grinding. Today I want to talk about why Classic has seen this rise in interest now, the positives and negatives to take away from seasonal WoW so far, and the possibilities for what the future of seasonal servers may hold. So then, Classic WoW once...
Okay, I honestly think that... Okay, this is a hard take. I don't think Blizzard has the capability of actually being able to develop vanilla WoW anymore. Like, I know a lot of people come into my channel and they're like, hey, you know, I'd like to see this change, or Blizzard should do this, Blizzard should do that. The problem is Blizzard doesn't do it. They do their own thing, and it always sucks, and then people are like, yeah, but, you know, Blizzard could make that change. Blizzard isn't going to make that change. They always make the wrong decision, right? That's why, like, when people are like, oh, do you want to see Classic Plus? No, because I don't want Blizzard to be in charge of actually developing another version of the game. Is there things that they could do to improve the game? Yes, there's maybe a couple things. But Blizzard is not going to do it because they'll always do stuff that is stupid. Or there's the hard R word that I'm not going to use on a video. Because they don't think of the repercussions. A perfect example is Season of Mastery, when they said that the cycle was only 12 months. You can watch a video of mine from back then where I specifically say this is going to be a problem for casual gamers. They're not going to be able to keep up, and they're gonna quit the game in droves. They ended up quitting the game in droves for many other reasons, but that was one of them, right? And then they've also got they brought in battlegrounds in the honor system right at the very beginning, so people were able to get rank 14, and have BIS weapons, and they weren't even bothering trying to farm their weapons out of doing, regular dungeons or anything like that. People were just sitting there AFK in Ultric Valley. Like, they don't think about the consequences. And when people start mentioning this stuff, they're so egotistical that they don't listen to it. They're just like, oh, we've already decided to do this. I've actually got, I wonder if I could open it up on Twitter. I don't know if I want to call out this dev. There is a dev who has, I have to check, but I think he may have since moved on from Blizzard. And he actually messaged me on Twitter because I was freaking out in my video about how, these changes are dumb or whatever. And I even tweeted at him because we may or may not follow each other. Okay. Anyways, and I said, listen, like this is going to be a problem. This is why. And he replied, and he actually said that they watched my video about, these problems, blah, blah, blah type of thing. But they weren't, they were just going to they're going to do it anyways. And what happened? Like 95% of the player base had quit within like 4 weeks. And not because people didn't like vanilla. It's because their version of vanilla that we entrusted Blizzard to develop was absolute garbage.
Again, for the third time now, well, it will be for some of us. I think the first big reason that Classic has seen a rise in players is just that
just because all the other expansions suck. That's the reason why.
Season of Mastery has gone. It wasn't exactly huge when compared to Wrath's player base, but it's just no longer a choice that is offered. That will leave many players with an active sub who want to continue playing vanilla. So where do they go? Classic era. Second is how dramatically the game has changed during the first 2 expansions, being the Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, and it will continue to do so. For me, vanilla getting more popular now, when there is no fresh realm and people are actively taking on a community-driven challenge where they have to delete their character if they die, says a huge amount to me. Vanilla was the only version of WoW where the world was the size of a world, and that matters a lot more than you may think. Because
I want to pause it here. He's talking about how people are coming back because of this community-driven event. A lot of these people that are coming back, like the Hardcore Challenge is an amazing community-driven event. But a lot of these people are coming back just because they simply want to play vanilla. Like, I don't, like, think that there's any chance that a re-release of Fresh would be anywhere near as massive as the original one. But it would still be pretty big. Like, if you think that the number of people that are playing hardcore right now is big, if they release Classic Fresh, like no changes, it would be even bigger. Like, it would be like, you would probably need 10 servers per area. Like, there would be a ton of people that would come back for that. But Blizzard being Blizzard, they'll be like, no, you think you do, but you don't, and then they'll come out with another stupid version of the game that nobody wants to play.
Expansions have always been comparatively small in size and have at maximum increased the level cap by 10. But
you wouldn't play vanilla unless... How many else would play... Who would play Classic Fresh in here? How many of you would play Classic Fresh if it came out right now? Because I know... I think maybe this is a little bit of a biased viewership because I think most of the people that watch my stream, they're dying for Classic Fresh. And keep in mind, Classic Fresh, you can still play hardcore on those servers, right? Like, it's not like you couldn't play hardcore on Classic Fresh servers. You still could. I'd go fresh. I would go fresh over hardcore as well. Like, I'm playing hardcore because it's just an event, and I don't really know anyone else that's playing Classic era, like as a guild or whatever. And this is just kind of a fun thing to do on stream. But if you were to ask me, hey, if it was launched tomorrow and you had a choice between playing Classic Hardcore or Classic Fresh, I'd be playing Classic Fresh. There's no question.
vanilla is 2 entire continents with...
Although Funky is the retail guy, right? I got to remind myself, he wouldn't play Classic Vanilla again. He's a retail dude, but he's found some love for the hardcore community though.
60 levels to get through. Expansion started to treat leveling as a series of convenient hubs with optimized gear and weapons for your specialization. Vanilla has you go halfway across the world for a weapon that you might be using for the next 15 levels because it's just that.
You know what? This is actually one of the things that I love about vanilla is that you actually have to go through the world and explore the world to get things done. Like it'll have you go over to like wherever, like Stragglethorn Vale, to do a bunch of quests, and then you have to take it back to like get the reward for it, like somewhere else. It's not just quests. It's not just quest hub after quest hub. There is a lot of quest hubs, but I like the fact that it forces you to actually travel around and
that much
explore.
better than anything else. And expansions assumed that we are level cap and that there's people who need to catch up. During TBC, elite questing was removed from vanilla, as well as XP required to hit level cap lowered. In Wrath it was lowered even more, and then we had heirlooms and the LFD. Well, in original Wrath we had LFD anyway. In Classic there is nothing to assume. You start at level 1 just as everyone else does. The game isn't afraid of you taking months to hit level cap because there is just that much to do and see in the world before you hit level 60. And back in the day it was not uncommon at all to see players with weeks and weeks of playtime for their first level 60. That meant something. In short, expansions have started to push you more and more towards playing the end game as the main content. Classic does not.
Wait a second. I mean, I have items in my bags right now I got from Westfall. I never really played Classic, but Hardcore is mad fun. Why would you not play Classic fresh then if you've never played Classic? If you've never played Vanilla? I think that might be the problem. Like, you've never tried it. I remember my bags from Westfall that I need to take to the Barrens. Also,
and do that, and I think that makes it really stand out.
How far? Whoops. How far did you get into Classic? Got a road. Okay.
Third reason for Classic's
hardly
growth
played.
is when MMOs are popular, they get more
There were people that leveled 36 after 2 days.
popular because they are more popular. There has to be some kind of word or phrase for this. I'm going to call it popularity weaving. If you see people on Twitch, recommendations on YouTube, other people in your guild and so on, all on hardcore, and
Wait, oh man, I don't have enough viewers for this, chat.
then you think to yourself, wait, aren't they just ghost towns? I thought no one played there. Then you go log into a starter zone on a hardcore server. It's gonna be a big surprise. It's not even just the hardcore starter zones
Massively
either. Try
populated. It's
Orgrimmar or
really,
Stormwind
really
on the big
neat.
clusters like Whitemane
See all
or
these
Firemore.
people
You see a
come
lot
back
of people in the
just to
game.
play the
You
game
get
they
neuron
love, 'cause it's the
activation,
only
game
version
looks
available.
alive, and you think, I'll try the game again then. Fourth, and something which I'll mention several times during the video, is the hardcore challenge. I've done a video on getting started on it already if you wanted some information. In short though, it's trying to get to level 60 without dying, and for a challenge designed around questing, it's surprisingly fun. Just as with the previous reasoning,
It is a
leveling
lot of fun.
zones are full of people non-stop. But perhaps biggest of all, it makes you play WoW in a different way, where you're suddenly a lot more clueless about the game than you thought you were. Everyone thinks they have classic gameplay solved until a Defias Pillager does half your health in one fireball, or that one Son of Aragorn in Silverpine Forest catches you out. Hardcore puts a level of
I
challenge
hate
back
going to
into the game,
Silverpine just
tests
because of
even the
Son of
most
Aragorn.
experienced players' knowledge, and creates an environment where you are even more invested into your character's growth than
People
normal.
trying to kill
and the final
Hogger.
reason as to Classic becoming more popular now is it's just different from raid logging. Many versions of WoW get into a raid log state after some time, and if raiding's what you like to do, that's fine. But feeling as though you have something to work towards is fun,
There's
and very
always
much
stuff
what
to do in
MMOs are all
vanilla.
about, so Classic Era is there for that demand at the moment. All these joined together have led to a situation where once dead servers are now seeing an organic resurgence, leveling zones are once again busy, auction houses packed with items, and endgame content restarting. And you would certainly hope that Blizzard has seen this growth over the past few months and have been cooking something up for Classic fans, be it through seasonal servers or just a plain fresh. You know Holly Longdale, who joined Blizzard to work on Classic back in 2020? She used to be on EverQuest, where they had time lock progression servers. These are, would you believe it, near enough 1-year duration servers that work off different rule sets, such as randomized loot from similar level enemies, or holding player votes to decide when the next major content drop happens. EverQuest started their time lock progression servers in 2015, mind you, and they're still going to this day. And I think Seasonal Mastery for a first
I actually
attempt
didn't know that
do a lot of
EverQuest did
things
that.
well, nerfing the
I never really
boosting
got
meta
into
by
EverQuest,
making
though.
mobs in dungeons go CC immune after a while, more content available from launch such as the tier 0.5 quest lines and Diamol, easier to farm reagents and eventually extra crafting procs similar to how alchemy worked in TBC, lowering the cost of mounts to fit a faster leveling speed, removal of the debuff limit, and so on. There were negatives
Well, that's what I thought this would be easy. My first Warrior died at 12. The Baronet, It is difficult. It'd be cool. Keeps things fresh every year. When people were first originally asking for Classic Fresh, people were like saying, "Hey, we should recycle the server like every 18 months. Like go through the cycle of going through the whole thing of vanilla, and then after 18 months, the server gets wiped and you start all over again." And people are like, "Oh, you want to play the same thing again?" You know how many private servers there have been where people go from private server to private server? Like one server will play through its cycle, then another one will be open up. Everyone jumps on board, and they keep getting more and more popular. Like people just want to play fresh, and they'll play through the same cycle of fresh over and over and over again. And there's some people that just can't believe that that's actually the case, but it is. History has shown us that.
Too though, for sure. Its launch date came a little too early for many who were already enjoying TBC and didn't quite want to go back to vanilla yet.
That was a
PvP
problem. It
ranking
was too
system
early.
was sped up through doubling RP gains instead of halving decay or any other system, meaning players were still forced into an unhealthy grind. On top of that, the PvP gear existing from the outset meant that hitting even rank 10 would unlock gear that surpassed the majority of items found in raiding
That was
content,
a huge
which
problem.
made 40-man raiding not feel as impactful. About raiding though, I have this idea there are two main groups of people who want to raid in World of Warcraft. There are those who want progression and those who want to collect a loot. Classic all the way up to Alodar has been a great game for loot collectors, and a poor one for progression enjoyers. The divide in difficulty between hard mode and normal has put up a barrier of above average performance needed to access the best loot. Kryler the Grand Crusader should be a step down comparatively, but expect ICC to be a step up once again, and then Kata will come along and completely blow everything out of the water. Retail on
Hey, I don't know that Kata's coming out. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, I have not heard a lot of people like really excited for the idea that Kata's coming out. Maybe that's what this announcement on May 13th is. I don't know, but I don't hear anyone talking about it at all anymore. So, but of course, you know, it's not what the people want. So of course, that's what Blizzard's gonna do.
On the other hand, is a great game for progression and not such a great one for loot collectors. Mythic raids are on a whole other level to anything you've seen in Classic, loot is personal, and at times it can feel much more down to RNG. And without ever dividing a raid's difficulty, I don't think you can have it be somewhat challenging. Whilst people did say time and again how easy Classic raiding was, maybe it was never about being hard, but just providing a
Vanilla raiding is not hard. It is actually really easy, but the cool thing about raiding is, well, speed clearing's kind of fun, but it's more the fact that you're kind of like in this community of people or whatever. 40 people in one raid is insane compared to like raids of today. Even in Wrath, it's 25 people. I don't know. They're not that difficult. Like the bosses usually have one, maybe two mechanics if they're really tough. So, but for some reason, they're just really enjoyable. And there's other raids that are, you know, more difficult that I enjoy as well. Like I'm enjoying Alodar, and obviously Alodar is more difficult than raids that are in vanilla. But, you know, I enjoy both. But there's something, maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe it's nostalgia, but I would raid Molten Core every single week. I love raiding. I would go, if my guild max set it up, if my guild said, hey, let's get like, you know, 15, 20 people and let's go raid Molten Core, I'd do it just because I love old content.
A place for you to press your buttons and collect some satisfying purple upgrades. Also, believe me, you don't want hard 40-man raids. Remember WildStar? They did this. It's hard enough getting 20 people for Mythic.
WildStar is a game I
Getting
did
40
not
above average
try.
players is just not realistic for the majority. Can you imagine the guild poaching and having everyone to learn that one mechanic that can wipe the raid? Yeah, no thanks. I guess what I'm saying is that currently we're seeing a lot of people coming back to vanilla purely for the purpose of leveling content. I don't think any other version of WoW could pull this off, and that raids are far more for loot collectors than providing a big challenge. So whilst Blizzard definitely took on board a very common bit of feedback that raids were too easy in vanilla, perhaps going down the road of trying to make Classic into a game more focused on the end game was just not an idea which really made sense. If you remember, Season of Mastery at the start had a bonus 40% XP from all activities, and even more XP from elite quests. Later this was buffed to 100%, which given the fact this server was designed to last for 12 months is perfectly reasonable. However, at the outset, Blizzard did not confirm you would be able to transfer characters on seasonal servers to the live Classic realms. They would be going to Classic Era, which at the time was not much of a selling point. It was kind of like having your character thrown into the void. I think if people knew they could have moved to TBC or RAF at the end of the server's life
would have had a lot more
cycle, it would
people.
have encouraged a lot more people to try it out. On top of that, you could justify not increasing leveling experience or allowing players to choose whether or not they want the bonus experience, just as how Joyous Journey has worked in Classic. The next big point for me has to be classes. If it's not a vanilla, no change is fresh, surely something has to give here. We tried Season of Mastery, we buffed raids, we did no world buffs, and we got the warrior meta back once again. This is of course a point where everyone's going to have a different opinion. Using talents from other expansions doesn't seem like much of a runner to me. They are trees built off being level 70 or 80 or what have you, on top of us not having core expansion abilities that these talents are used on, like Mutilate or Arcane Blast or Incinerate and so on. I'm not sure minor changes would cut it either. You could give a Paladin Taunt and Crusader Strike, they're still going to go in 30 seconds flat either way. You could give Moonkins infinite mana and they won't be top 10 on DPS. And that's without even going into itemization or the complete near lack of gear tailored towards specific specs. At the moment, the distance between the top performers and the bottom is just way too large, with or without world buffs. I mean, what I'd like to see is each spec be somewhat viable in the role they were designed for, with the intentions they were designed around, if that...
What about hybrid specs? So we had someone that came in my chat last week where he was really upset that his shaman was terrible. And he was like, they don't take shamans to raids. I'm like, what are you talking about? They take like 8 of them as healers. They need your Wind Fury totem. You're like, yeah, but I want to play enhanced. It's like, okay, but you want to be best at healing and also, or like really, really good at healing and also really, really good at DPS. Like, you can't expect a hybrid class to be as good at those things as someone that is just purely DPS. And a lot of people, like, they want changes to classes. I think, like, that's kind of going down a bit of a hole that I don't think people would realize how bad that would make the game. Like, if you suddenly made enhancement shamans able to do as much damage as warriors or whatever, then suddenly you're not going to play warriors. You're just going to have a bunch of people playing enhancement shamans, and fury warriors aren't going to be a thing. Like, because why would you bring in warriors then? So there's got to be some give and take. But you can't have. You imagine if they made enhancement shamans do as much damage as fury warriors? You wouldn't just have 8 shamans in your raid anymore, like 8 healers. You'd have another 8, like you'd have 16 shamans, because you'd have a whole ton of like enhancement shamans as well.
That makes sense. Enhancement shamans use two-handers? What if that was actually somewhat viable?
Difference between being the best and not. Yeah, but even if they were equal, like if they were equal in damage, why would you take a warrior instead of a shaman? Right? Like, that's my point. And shamans already have tons of like spots that are gifted to them in the raid. Same as paladins. Like, rep paladins are like, oh man, well, our damage sucks in raids. Except the big guy. He likes to preach that paladins, he does really good damage as a paladin. But generally your paladins are not your paladins are not going to do as much damage as pure DPS classes. Why? Because they're really amazing at one other spec. And if you made rep paladins do as much damage as warriors, fury warriors, why would you take a fury warrior? You've got this other, holy warrior that does just as much damage and is in played as well. Why would you bring a warrior? You're already bringing a ton of paladins.
Resto druids are designed around healing over time, but in Classic it's only really healing touch or regrowth. Can you make HOTS work in Classic? Individual spec tier may go a long way to help this, but then most of your 40-man raid wants tier from bosses that drop a couple of pieces. In Season of Mastery they did start making bosses drop more loot after some time had gone by. Maybe this is just a simple...
You know why they started making them drop loot faster? It's because people leveled up and they couldn't get gear fast enough because the season was squished so much. It's Ray. Hey, thanks for the follow. Because the season had been squished up so much, people couldn't gear up fast enough in each phase. So they were like, "Oh, damn, we've got to increase the loot that bosses drop so that people can keep up."
solution to the potential issue. Adding tier would have another big bonus in that it creates new chase items and less wasted loot on a faster content cadence. Even if you brought a Shadow Priest to a raid, were they ever going to get the first mission there or the first talisman of ephemeral power? Probably not unless they're the GM. It would have gone to a mage or something. If tier drops for a priest, it's going to go to a priest. Another thing to consider is world buffs. Do we bring them back? I think the Chronoboon was a really good solution to being forced into raid logging.
I've never given a thumbs down to a video, and I'm not going to do it just because of one dumb comment.
If tier drops for a priest, it's going to go to a priest. Another thing to consider is world buffs. Do we bring them back? I think the Chronoboon was a really good solution.
Okay, the Chronoboon, I'm getting angry now. The Chronoboon was an absolute disaster for the game. And the reason why is because, again, Blizzard doesn't think of other consequences when they bring stuff like this into the game. So the Chronoboon basically destroyed world PvP in many senses, because you had people that would go out to do world PvP. They're competing against other guilds to try and get server first or whatever, get better parses than other guilds. So they'd actually go out and actually have like raiding parties that encouraged, that was world PvP to try and wipe out other raids. And Blizzard didn't think of any of that sort of stuff, or they don't care. They probably don't care either. But the Chronoboon gets rid of a lot of that. All those early days in vanilla when people were rushing to try and get Race the World first, or they were trying to get the best parses for the guild or whatever, and your guild would go out and actively like try and stop guilds from being able to raid with 4 world buffs. All that's gone because of Chronoboon. Now, if they were smart, which they're not, and they made Chronoboon so that you could only apply it once you got back to town and once your PvP flag was taken off, then no problem. You can apply the Chronoboon. But they would have to also make it so that you had to apply the buffs before you actually left town to go to the raid, so that other guilds could still sit there and world PvP as well. And if you don't like that, go play on a PvE server, then you don't have to worry about this sort of stuff. But it was a disaster for one aspect of the game. It totally ruined it for a lot of people. I liked watching that guy dispel on his priest. Whatever. I mean, if you are actually sitting here watching this video on YouTube or on stream live, and you don't understand that if you're really that worried about losing your buffs, just don't hearth back to Stormwind. Don't hearth back to Orgrimmar. Hearth to the Crossroads or whatever town in for the Alliance, and then just take the flight path. It immediately gets rid of your PvP flag, and then you don't have to worry about it. You can log your character out. If you want to have the chrono thing in that game, then you can apply it as soon as you land in Orgrimmar. You've wasted like 2 minutes, no big deal, and then you keep going. But to destroy one entire aspect of the game of world PvP, all the fights that went on in Fellwood and stuff like that, and going out to do PvP on Tuesdays or whatever when people are, or Sunday and Monday nights when people are trying to get the world buffs. Like, come on, man! Like, people need to think about this sort of stuff. The way Chronoboon was implemented in the game was absolutely terrible.
To being forced into raid logging, and if we assume it's supposed to be
okay. And second of all, it takes you 15 minutes to get your world buffs. Let's not act like this is like a 2-hour process. You can get this stuff done in 15 minutes. And if your guild is not organized enough to be able to do this on like a Sunday or Monday night, or whatever, the night before your raid or something like that, it is so easy to go and get your world buffs. Don't act like you have to raid log for 5 or 6 days or something like that. Like, come on.
Easy raid content.
Hey, this guy's got 4,200 gold. He's a baller.
Which is blasted through. World buffs kind of fit into that power fantasy of having 24 buffs running at the same time and just blowing stuff up. Maybe even allow Chronoboon with suspended world buffs to be sold on the auction house. You probably want to put some kind of level restriction on.
Oh my god. Yet another suggestion so that you wouldn't have to go and actually worry about world PvP.
on them though, or you can just have 12 accounts and farm boons by summoning level 1s around the world. Wait, I'm just going to be giving them ideas here, aren't I? Either way, if there is class rebalancing, it definitely has to be done very carefully. If you can just run into mobs and AoE them down Wrath of the Lich King style, that's not going to be any
class
good.
rebalancing
and in raids, I think the low end DPS
Blizzard
needs
would
to
know
be
how to
brought
do
up
it.
and the top end down. I don't think warriors can stay where they are at the moment, because if everything was at that power level, the end game would just get deleted way too fast. Overall, in Season of Mastery 2, or whatever it's called should it happen, I think one of the biggest things to realize is that Classic is a game that has a lot of replayability before level cap, and fast tracking people into endgame is not necessarily a good thing, despite having an increased content cadence. I hope some class changes to adjust the meta and make more playstyles feel useful. I don't think raid content needs to try and be hard. Let people chase their gear and blast, and if there's gonna be world buffs, make them not terrible to get. Ranking and ranking reward availability both need a rethink. There were a lot of positives and learning points from the first season which can be carried forwards. You need to tell people you can transfer your characters to live classic realms right from the beginning. If there's going to be bonus XP, make it a choice the player can make individually. And hardcore mode has had a huge amount of influence on Classic's population and is worth consideration too. Leveling a somewhat changed class on hardcore and working towards those modified talents or abilities would be super hype. It would be like playing the game back in the day and hitting level 40 for the first time once again. On the other hand, hardcore has shown success even without any changes, so there's that too. Whatever happens, seasonal is seasonal. That's the main reason that I don't mind them trying to do different things. You aren't ever going to please everyone, so pick a direction and stick to it rather than trying to compromise.
I mean, let's be honest, they didn't please like 99% of the players that tried. That's the problem. It's not like they can't try things to see if they work or not. It's the fact that Blizzard picks the dumbest things to actually try to do without thinking about it. When people are screaming, you cannot have 1 year, 1 year seasonal servers. Like, it's too much. And so many other things that we screamed about, they don't listen though. That's Blizzard's main problem.
For everyone, which at the end of the day doesn't really suit anyone. Any thoughts from the first season of Mastery, and what things are the top of your priority list if they do a second season? Drop them down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you on the next one very soon.
Okay, so WillE is one of my favorite content creators, maybe my favorite. I liked a lot of his video. The Chrono Boon thing though, he's just dead wrong on. He's just flat out wrong. The way they implemented it was absolutely terrible. And again, it was just them not thinking about the repercussions, basically. So, anyways, that's going to be it for the video on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to like and subscribe. It would help me out a lot. And come watch live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Alodar. I stream all the time. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching.